equally, I can't really get my head around this story about Angela Rayner. As well, she's just had an offensive email sent to her. A man's admitted it, and he's from Weybridge in Surrey, which amazed me. It's this David Perry, 66. I'm not going to go into what he told the Labour leader to regurgitate all of that. But this is an interesting one because what was this guy? He sent this horrific, really misogynistic, awful email to Angela Rayner about her crossing her legs, and all of that stuff cropped up again. And it was sent to Rayner's constituency office in Ashton-under-Lyne, Greater Manchester, on May the 2nd last year, traced to this chap Perry. I mean, people always think they can hide behind their emails. No, you can't. And Detective Inspector Christopher Dean said, abusive and threatening communication towards anyone is unacceptable and not only impacts the life of those that they are directed at, but also close to them. The abuse correspondence sent to this woman left her understandably distressed. Now, it's also Hate Crimes Week, so I don't know if that's one and the same. But looking at that email, if over the 36, 37 years of my career, I had plod on the case of every abusive, misogynistic, racist, I'm forgetting the kidnap threats against my children, the death threats against me, and no, I didn't leave my job because of that. If I had I beg your pardon, if I had the police force onto every single one of them, they did go with the death threats and the kidnap ones, but all the other ones, I'd have to have my very own police force. So am I remiss? Were they hate crimes? Is what was aimed at Angela Rayner hate crime? Explain it to me, because I don't know. I
have to say it's a real noodle scratcher, as the great jurist Ned Flanders might say. Trisha, good evening to everybody. This story regarding Angela Rayner, I mean, first of all, grossly offensive series of emails. And let's say his name once, David Perry, 66 years old, from Weybridge. And I actually think that's punishment enough, probably, because I think he's been through a hellish experience. We've compounded it ever so slightly on TalkTV today. And I'm not sure, in the context of all of the social media offences that take place. And in fact, the guidelines on social media, the prosecution guidelines on social media, whether people should see their cases brought to court, whether this is an appropriate use of not necessarily police time, because this could have resulted, for example, in a caution, still would have got a criminal record, wouldn't have gone to court. But is this a good use of court time, the prosecution time? Aren't we always talking, Trisha, about the extent to which there are these terrible, scandalous court delays, the court backlog?
I was going to say, Joseph, there's 65,000 cases waiting to be heard, but this one gets heard that quickly.
I was surprised by that. And I have to say, let's separate the facts, which are odious, from that argument about the practicality and whether this level of money and attention should be spent on it. These tweets these emails, a series of them direct to her constituency office. She probably wasn't the person who received them, so they're probably filtered, and she was probably prepared for them in that way. So probably not as personal and direct, perhaps, as something, for example, sent direct to an Instagram inbox. And I've heard that many celebrities and prominent figures get these horrible messages. I occasionally, as a criminal lawyer, get some nasty correspondence. And where safety is involved, or there is a risk, or whether, as you describe, some of the threats to your children, honestly, get the police involved immediately. Where somebody's targeted again and again in a harassment type way, well, I think you cross the boundaries there into something that merits much more serious concern. But the question here is, why has this resulted in this level of attention? Okay, on the one hand, and I think there are some good reasons for it, and some things that I'm sympathetic to. Angela Rayner is a celebrated, indeed sometimes divisive, powerful, independent woman who has been pilloried chauvinistically. Do you remember all that business about legs crossing and all of that, and how disgusting that was in the gutter press? And actually messages being sent by a prominent person, and indeed the police, from a position, and someone we can identify with as a character. I think there is some merit to that. But what I don't like is that this is a detective inspector in the police who is dealing with the PR quotes on this, a senior Crown prosecutor and an MP's office. And I just don't get how it is that it's so orchestrated at such expense. I'm a senior solicitor. It may be that this is as high as I get in the profession. And if that's right, I'll be very pleased because I'm doing the kind of work I dreamt about in law school. Nevertheless, I don't get to meet detective inspectors in interviews, Trisha, because they're not even operational and frontline. These are guys running 100 officers. These are people, that very rarely, for you to meet somebody at that level. Also, Joseph, the type of guy who has the time to comment on this, I just think.
Can you think of all the people whose houses have been robbed, who've been mugged, all of those people? I see. I agree with you. It sends out a strong message against misogyny, etc., etc., etc. And I'm sure Angela Rayner. Well, we know Angela Rayner's not the only politician to receive messages like that, but when the average person can't get a normal on the beat policeman to rock up to their house for a break-in or anything else, or somebody attacking them or what have you, as far as a PR exercise is concerned, I don't know if that doesn't sort of catapult unintentionally Angela Rayner and Labour into this holier than thou stratosphere where the rest of us can't get a policeman round for a crime, and yet somebody sends a nasty email, and as you say, top brass roll over it like a rash.
And, Trisha, our conversations will tell most of the listeners and viewers that you and I, we're both pretty much on the left side of progressive, and for us to be having these concerns means that there's a bit of a flavour here of taxpayer-funded overkill, some grandstanding in support of a very important cause, very important narrative behind it. But I have to say, makes me uneasy. I don't particularly like it.